Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. Presented by Patriot Patch Company and Camerado. Well, I just saw some sad news. Unfortunately, we lost Norm. George Wendt passed away today. So most people would know him as Norm from Cheers. So he did a lot of other things, but great comedian. But yeah. Hey, Sharenda's here. Hot damn. So
there went the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, she's
The party's here.
the party's here. Okay.
Hello, darling. Nice to see you. Even though
Nice to
you
see
got a
y'all.
big old white dot to your face.
Yeah. If I turn
I
my
know
camera
why your
on,
camera. I know why your camera's muted. I know.
no, what? No, it's just buffering now.
Okay.
So there's a new feature that StreamYard has. It
I
shows
have a lot of noise
comments
background.
on the stage while people make them. So
Oh.
that means you clowns in the chat, when you start making comments, it'll automatically appear. So let's see some comments.
Oh hell.
See if it works.
Oh hell.
Oh, we're in trouble now.
Anyway.
So what's new and reloading today, Mike? I heard someone shot a match this weekend.
It's a vicious rumor.
Vicious rumor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nothing but lies, fabrications, and bullshit.
Okay. So you did pretty good, I heard. You came in 19th out of 26?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I had equipment malfunctions.
Well, first time up, not unusual.
Well, it wasn't the first time. I mean, it's the third match I've shot, but it was the first time with the 1022.
Okay.
So
The 1022 malfunctioned on you. What happened, Mike?
failure to feed.
That sounds like, forgive me, but that sounds like weak ammo.
No, it was just some issues. So, but the bigger issue was my Smith and Wesson. Was not making contact with all of the primers.
With
Like,
rims?
as in no primer strike, not a light primer strike, but no primer strike.
No primer strike, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, cool. It shows up on Paul's screen.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
Yep. So
Weird on TV. I see the old L1 guy. Good evening twice. Good evening all twice. I see it.
yeah, that's
Spirits fire. Yeah, neat.
Why was the Smith and Wesson not striking
I think it was good dirty.
Dirty? Okay.
Yeah. I've got 1,500 rounds through it since I bought it. I didn't clean it when I bought it.
Okay.
And I haven't cleaned it since.
Okay.
It was a used gun, not a new gun. If it was a new gun, I'd have torn it apart and cleaned it. I know better.
Yeah.
Because new guns, they put an anti-corrosive coating on most of them, so they don't
Mhm.
rust, and that turns to gum real quick. Like
Okay.
that becomes gummier than rem oil that's dried.
Ooh. Okay. Then not good.
Well, see, you
Not
probably
good.
never have to deal with that because you always clean your guns.
Well, yeah. A can of gun scrubber goes a long way.
Hmm.
You know, I do take things apart all the time.
Hmm.
So
Ken had Ken had 2 cans of silicone spray, so I wasn't really sure, but it was what was there because I left my range bag at home, so I didn't have access to my Royal Purple.
okay,
So I just hosed it down with silicone spray and worked it a few times and didn't have any more misfires. So
broke up whatever junk was in there and ran. Okay,
hmm
but you still, overall in the match, you were 19th out of 26, which is not bad
yeah, I did
considering.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And no, I did not put the um, crikey. I still have the irons on it. I did not convert it over to red dot.
Oh, you shot that with irons too. Okay. Wow. Wow. That makes it even tougher. Red dots are nice with that. When the dot starts across the target, you can pull the trigger and keep going. So
Yeah. Um,
the nice thing about shooting 22 is you don't have to draw from a holster.
no. What I need to do is I need to get my Canic. Now that I got a new battery for the optic, I need to get that resighted in because I have a outside the waistband holster for that express purpose.
Okay.
Um, Made by Gino a few years back from Black Rhino Concealment. So
Nice. Nice.
moment of silence for Gino. So
Um, yeah, that's basically all that, they're a bucket, that hold the gun a little bit, but that canic has got to be pretty nice in that situation.
yeah.
But
Let's
you
see.
need a whole bunch of ammo for that though. You got to warm the 550 up. Or wait a minute, you just got your 650 back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. But yeah.
Yep. I know.
Where's my scores? Good grief. If I knew how to use practice score, it'd probably be a lot easier to do this.
Yeah.
Parma. Ba, ba, ba.
Great question on screen.
Oh, absolutely. I had a blast.
Good.
So, yeah. I mean, you get frustrated while you're doing it, but
Yeah, especially if you have jams and failures to fire or failure to feed. Yes, you do. You know, but you learn though. You learn, and
Yep.
it is a fun match. It's not a stressful match.
Yep. Yeah. So, it's not I mean, it's a competition, but it's not a
It's not a cutthroat.
Yeah.
It's not a cutthroat match. You know.
Exactly. That's the good grief. I am not a fan of this.
Practice score.
Yeah. Back to dashboard. Inbox. That's for registering. That's not it. Good grief. Anyway.
Uh,
It doesn't. I'm not a fan here. Okay, shows me that. What the hell? Uh-huh. Hey, I found my name.
good.
So Outer Limits, which was outlaw stage anyway.
Okay.
So this was with my 1022.
Uh-huh.
Total time of 24:20 with an accuracy percent of 6103. String 1 was 822. String 2 was 968, which is the toss string. String 3 was 796, and string 4 was 802.
Not bad. Not bad.
So, by comparison, Mr. Ken, 725, because I was talking and distracted him. Or no, 7633 was the one where I was talking too loud and distracting him. So 725, 438, and 586, and then 763 and a missed target because I was talking and distracted him. So anyway, But yeah, I definitely had fun. Um, yeah, definitely a blast. So
22 can be a fast running match with some of the people there.
yeah, we were done by noon.
That
So
was nice. Yeah, 6 stages. So
yep,
that
I'll
is
have to
fast.
have Ken teach me how to use StreamYard, or I mean Practice Core. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, definitely fun. Um, Unfortunately, one of the other guys who was shooting, he's a member of the local club, and his name's posted all over the place. He had a 1911 that went down that he was shooting 22 out of, and so he didn't get to shoot much. So
Ooh. Okay.
yeah, so he had a bad day.
Yeah.
He was using, but the problem is he had standard velocity ammo. So Ken helped diagnose that, so that was pretty cool.
Was it a Colt conversion
No
or
idea.
somebody else? Okay.
I have no idea. So
'Cause I was looking at a 22 conversion.
the Browning ones aren't bad for them, I heard. But I mean, that's kind of more of a total. Actually, from what I've heard, if you get the SIG 22 conversions, that's about the best one out there right now, as far as
Okay.
pistol conversions.
This is a 1911 or 2011 conversion,
From
and
Wilson.
you can get a single stack or wide body, and it comes with pick rail and Ellison style sights, or you know. So
Crikey.
that's what I'm looking at.
That's too much money.
Well, by
I
the
mean,
time you,
if
yeah,
you're putting it on like a freaking Nighthawk or something, then you sure.
yeah, I'm putting it on an STI, yeah.
But I mean,
Well, it's it only the top part of the gun is fixed. The only part that recoils is the bottom part. So yeah.
I mean, at that point, you might as well look at getting a full 1911 that's made it from the ground up as a 22.
Oh, they're a lot more than that. Then you're talking, $2,000 at that point.
Well, it depends on whose you're talking about.
Yeah. But this one here, again, it requires high velocity ammunition to run, and
High velocity or hyper velocity?
high velocity.
The reason I ask is because there is a AR-1522 out there that requires hyper velocity, or it will
Right.
not run.
Our conversions are not designed for hypervelocity ammunition, 1,300 feet per second or greater. So, but they want high velocity.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyhow, that's what I'm looking at right now. And Bill, yes. Ruger Mark IV, 2245. Yeah, I was looking at one of those too. The by the time you get done with a good conversion and everything else, with a good top end and everything, you're still looking at $700 and $900. So plus a
So
red dot.
I guess somebody needs to explain to me
Yeah.
why you have to take what appears to be a perfectly fine firearm, throw most of it away, and dump a shit ton of money into it to basically rebuild it.
Well, because the triggers get to be better. Okay.
Okay.
And
So if you're shooting Steel Challenge,
yeah.
The trigger, I can kind of see the point, but at the same time, I guess if that's the only thing you're doing near the gun, then I could see that. But now you're doing everything else.
Yeah.
So
You're gonna improve the bolt rack on a Mark IV, with the loop in the back or something, or something, so you don't have as hard a time cycling the gun. The top end will get changed off to lighten and maybe put a compensator on for it. Not sure what they do, but from what I was watching at the last match that I was at, guys spending quite a bit of money on that. So, yeah, it's plus the top ends are is the registered part of the gun. The grip is not. The grip is not like it's a serial numbered part in a Mark IV. So you have to go through and get it. But in a 1911, it's not. In a 1911, it's not part of it's not the serialized part. The frame is the lower part. Tell me why that is. So, yeah, it's
I'm trying to understand what all is improving by doing what you're doing. What is benefiting? What are you
well,
what are you
what
what are you gaining?
way I do it is because I run 1911s. So
Yep.
that's the thing that I'm looking at. So I can sit down and run a 2011 or a 1911 and okay, I don't have to change grips. I don't have to change triggers, whatever. I take one top off, I put another top on, I'm ready to go. All right. I can't say with a tandem cross or with a with a one of the other custom guns that are out there. You know, I can't say what why. I would do it because it's going to be a different trigger, different everything. So I can't tell you, but I know why I want to run a 2011 or a 1911 is because I that is the gun that I am the most familiar with.
Right.
So I can spend the $600 on a top end and another $200 or $300 on a red dot and go to town. And if I want to, I can flip a lever, take the red dot off, and shoot opens. So okay, it makes sense for me. Yeah. Does it make sense for everybody? I can't tell you. Do some guns shoot better than others? Yes, we do know that. That's part of our of our experience in life, that some guns are better at a certain type of competition than other guns are. So, but would most people, they won't know the difference between a 2245 and your Smith and Wesson, or a Smith and Wesson 41, or any of those high end guns you could
Mhm.
get. So unless that's what they shoot all the time. So
Well, Quartzen has actual Ruger 1022 receivers on clearance for $65.
okay, lower. Okay,
1022 receivers,
okay.
rifle receivers. So, because I'm looking to see what they have for the.
So if you get a receiver, you got to buy the bolt, and all the 9 yards and everything else.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so barrel, I can understand why you would change a barrel, because one of two reasons: either lighter weight, or your existing barrel is garbage.
right. Okay.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yep.
Or the third reason would be it's not threaded. You can't thread it, and you want it threaded for either a compensator, or B, a suppressor.
Right. Okay.
So barrels make sense. Um,
1022 triggers.
they're going.
I mean,
My personal opinion on triggers is simple. Probably 90% of the people that are running around are not good enough with their existing triggers to where putting a higher quality trigger in is actually going to improve, because their trigger discipline sucks.
okay. All right. And I'm going to sit there and say Ruger 1022 has got anywhere from a 12-pound trigger to a 6-pound trigger, and it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I can sit down and buy a Ruger replacement trigger for about $100, $100.25, if I remember right, and it'll get me down to a 3 to 5 pound trigger, depending on that. Do I want to go to a tandem cross or a Corson trigger and spend $200 to $300 on the trigger? I don't think it's set up for that type of work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that trigger would work that way. But there are triggers that Timney sells that for the 1022 that are in the 2.5, 3 pound range that would work better for it than a trigger that would, you really have to crank on in order to get it to go off when you want it to go off.
Yeah.
That's the deal on triggers. Red dot sights. Yeah.
So red dot sights and scopes, I wouldn't consider in this conversation.
Okay. The stock. You can get away with the factory stock, but it's going to be a little short for 99% of the people. You can go to Stocky stock, and you can get a Ruger 1022 stock that's longer, that is kind of set up for speed shooting. Yeah, at a reasonable cost.
Mm-hmm.
So if I take a receiver that's $60 and add all the parts and everything else to build it all up, I'm at $500 without a red dot, depending upon the barrel. And you can get good barrels and you can get real good barrels. So yeah, the BX trigger is a good trigger, and it's going to save you $200 versus a Timney or a Tandem Cross or a Varkorsen trigger. So but yeah, I think if someone just takes a standard 1022, puts a different buttstock on it, or something, and a new trigger, I think it'd compete. I mean, the targets are big enough. You're not at long range, and that rifle would compete. Good ammo that will feed through the gun and not give you problems. A good cleaning regimen to keep the bolt clean and the firing pin free. Yeah, it'd work.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to spend $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 to compete? Me, no, I don't need it. I want to compete with guns that I'm familiar with, and I'm not going to go out with one of my 1022s that weighs 8.5, 9 pounds, and be able to swing that across 5 targets, back and forth. But yeah, it's buildable. You can get out there with Smith and Wesson 1522, right, and run the course with that.
Yep.
CMMG makes a 22
Conversion kit, which I have.
conversion kit. Okay. Are they accurate? I have never tried one.
Actually, reasonably. I've not gotten serious enough to get I've not gotten serious enough to really see at like 50 yards how accurate it is. It's not like I'm taking it to go shoot an apple seed anytime in the near future.
Okay.
But
well, I just wondered, would it be competitive in a steel challenge match?
Yeah, as it is right now, I could.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's definitely accurate enough that I could hit the 8-inch gongs and the the 12x12 steel.
Right. Okay.
So
then the only thing you have to buy are the magazines to to have enough mags to go up for the match.
Right.
So
And I
you
currently
need,
have 2.
and so you
So
need
that's
3
why
more.
that's
Yeah.
why it didn't go, because I have plenty of 1022 mags laying around.
Right.
I only
Mhm.
found about half of them, and I found 5 10-rounders and 2 25-rounders. So
Okay. And all you need is the 10 rounders, really. I mean, if you're going over 10, you got real problems. So,
hmm
but
but the thing is, if I'm running 10-round mags, I'll I'll
they're harder to change out. Yes.
but not only that, but I will reload every after every string.
Okay. I find that most of the guys out there running 10 round mags or so, they just bring 5 mags up and they drop 1 mag, they put another mag in, and they
Yep.
go from there.
That's
So,
yeah, that's what I do. That's what Ken
yeah.
taught me to do. So
Hmm.
whereas with the 25-rounders, I'll usually shoot 3 or 4 strings and then change it.
Right.
There was one time where I hadn't missed yet. Billy, you and I need to talk, because I just had a guy at work fix my ender. So I just brought it back home. I don't drop mags. So there. Anyway, but so he's talking about the CMMG 22 conversion mags.
Right.
They're 3D printable. So that's why I'm
Oh,
interested.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So Okist said the solution is obviously a belt-fed 1022. Well, of course it is. So
Uh,
yeah, unfortunately, when I started out, that I had one 25-rounder that I know I'd filled to capacity. The other one I wasn't sure.
okay.
And when I set them down on the table, when I put them in the gun case and then pulled them back out of the gun case and set them on the table, I mixed them up. And so the one that wasn't full is the one I went and shot with. And
Okay.
so I had a really good string going and had to reload.
Ooh,
I thought it was malfunctioning again.
yeah.
So here I'm doing the tap rack, and
Uh-huh.
then realized that no, it was empty, because Ruger 1022s from the factory don't lock back on an empty magazine.
No, they don't. Nope.
So,
Nope.
but I now have ECIs, so
Okay.
which I didn't have. Well, I didn't bring with. I've got Appleseed ones around here somewhere, but I think they're in the back of a safe. But I went
Okay.
out and bought I ordered them off Amazon, the fancy ones that have the little one that goes in, and they've got the little tag that hangs off.
All right.
So just so I could be like the cool kids. So
Well, you watch all those guys out there with their loaders for their magazines in
I was
22.
gonna look. Yeah, I was gonna look that up
Yeah.
for Ruger mags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're about $70 or $80 a piece for those loaders.
I think. Oh, Maglula makes one. What? I think. Yeah, Caldwell makes one. So, well, that's an interesting little goofy looking thing. Let's share that. Shut up. So this is from Maglula, and this is for loading and unloading
Okay.
1022s. So yeah, I guess this is the loader and this would be the unloader. Or the shucker. So. Ooh, yeah. Probably fits the Winchester ones too. Oh, that's the unloader. That's easy.
Yeah.
But I've honestly not had a problem unloading.
Okay.
So that's neat.
Well, again from CB. Today we're looking at the Ruger 1022.
Oh shoot, that one from Caldwell's pretty cheap. I'll have to check Expert Voice. What you got there?
This is called a Speed Bees lever loader for BX25, and it'll do BX15, BX1 magazines.
I think I've seen it.
You drop the bullet in, you flip your fingers back and forth, and it loads it up.
Yeah.
So, and it's $35. So
That's not bad.
no. Yes, Alaska Russ. The trigger is the unloader. Yep.
Right you are, Chief. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna be.
All right. How you doing, Jim?
Having a hard time staying awake.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you do in reloading this week or shooting?
Went back to work.
Went back to work. Okay.
Yep.
So you haven't been able to start casting.
Right. I did all my casting. I did all my rendering of wheel weights down to ingots. I have to go and find my molds and start making bullets that way. I gotta make myself a small working bench so I can actually sit there in a chair and cast myself couple great bills.
There you go.
Okay.
Following our own safety advice, I'm going to put the fan to my left and blow across all the fumes out the door of the shed.
Okay, that works. That works.
Not behind me, not in front of me, beside me.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it'll help it'll cool the molds off when you're taking them out underneath the pots. Okay.
That's why I told Mike, when I start casting, I'll take some video when going well. Make sure to take some video so you can see how I personally cast.
Okay. Does it get hot in that shed?
Yeah, of course. But the fan will help a
Okay.
lot.
Well,
I don't
just
think the
because.
fan's going to help as much as you think, Jim.
Well, he wants it
You could
just
be
to
right,
get.
Mike.
You want it just to get the fumes out, right?
For the moment, yeah.
Okay. I don't know
If it's
what we.
120 in that shed, if it's 115 degrees in that shed, I'm not going in there to cast.
Well, if it's 90 degrees, I wouldn't be going in there and casting because it's gonna
No.
There you
all it's
go.
gonna do is get hotter,
Yep.
So, but in the
That's the other thing too. If you got to be careful how you position the fan, because you don't want to cool the pots down. All you're doing is consuming excess power when you do that.
right.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, and I'm talking about when I was shooting IPSC, for 45 ACP, I had a bench that I set up outside to load, and I
Yeah.
just put it in the shade and only load in the early evening.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's actually a good idea because I do have a solar street light mounted on my shed. That would actually give me enough light to make it damn near daylight, working underneath the light in the shed. What I'm saying is when I run out of light, when I run out of sunlight, the backup will come on. So I can cool things off and close down for the evening.
there you go. There you go.
That would be all on the outside too.
And then you make yourself. Do you have a box you cast into, or something?
Generally speaking, when I cast them, I lay them on like an old-fashioned shop rag or heavy-duty towel, something soft, so it doesn't
Yeah.
mangle them up when it's so hot. I've done the quenching thing to drop them directly out of the mold into the cold water. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm like you. I like to cast them and drop them on a big heavy beach towel or something. Yeah,
Yep.
soft surface. But I made a box that was angled, so I would drop the bullets on the high part of it, and then let them cool a little bit. I could
Yep.
dump 3 or 4 molds and then just lift up the towel and let them run down to the bottom and put it back and then keep going.
Yep.
So
I've heard of that method. To me, the way I the secret I think is inspect your bullets before they come out of the mold. Take a good glance at them. You see a wrinkle or two, put them back in the pot.
yeah, I think I was doing too much production to worry about that. I mean, I was,
Yeah. That's why I use Alox instead of powder coat.
uh-huh.
Although I have access to more powder coat than you can imagine.
They didn't have powder coat back then, so I mean,
Yes, sir.
So I would use Rooster Red lubricant, which is
Yep.
kind of it's a hard lube, but it's a liquid lube that I would put on them and then let them dry. So
I got you.
It worked out pretty nice.
I wound up giving my Lyman 450 away. with the 357 dies and top punches and 44 dies and top punch. I gave it away. I hated that damn thing.
Well, the only way you could use them was with a heater in them, right? I mean,
Yeah, you couldn't resize lubricate bullets in the dead of winter.
right.
You break some.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's right, because I wound up making my own bullet lubricant for that damn 450. And well, what I did was made my own lube and I poured it in, fill it up nice and warm. Worked well until the damn stuff cooled off.
Yeah, now they have the block heaters that go underneath them to keep things, warm. And because some of those lubes definitely need it. They're hard. They're almost like candle wax. Okay, I mean, so. Yeah, Rooster Red, the liquid was great. I mean, just pour it on and get to the bottom, let it all collect in a sheet pan. What was left, pour back in. So, that's the way I did that one.
I've got a question for you, Paul. Let me see if I can read it. Why should I make my own ammo anyway? Why should I make my own ammo?
Why should I make my own ammo?
Yeah, you're talking to a guy that's probably reloaded and fired 150,000 rounds. Why am I doing it?
One is because you're going to make a more accurate ammo. That's the number one reason.
Especially from rifles.
Number two is, and this goes to some pistols, not all, but you're going to tailor the load to the situation that you have the gun for. In other words, in a revolver, you may want to run a intermediate load. I'm not going to call it a light load, but an intermediate load that works well for what you're doing. And for teaching somebody, you can make a very good powder puff load. So, that's that. I'm not going to say
it's just a matter of terminology. What you call an intermediate load, I call 95% load.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I learned in my reloading manuals, some of my older ones, and they're all old now. And my reloading manuals, I figured it out one day that min to max load was usually somewhere between 90 and 100%. Minimum 90 and max 100. And I found my accuracy niche was about, like you said, intermediate, halfway up, halfway down, 95%.
But there are sometimes you want to make 100% load. Okay. I mean,
for hunting ammo, sure.
For hunting ammo and everything else, I want 100% because I want the velocity and the expansion that, and I'm talking pistols right now. I'm not talking rifles. I'm just talking pistols.
I know.
The other thing is that once I have the brass, I can reload and load my own ammunition up tailored for going out and plinking or going to a match or whatever I need to do. And I'm not sitting there worried about, I got to go buy, 10 boxes of ammo for a match or something. I can sit down and reload 10 boxes of 500 rounds in an hour, hour and a half. So, yeah, there's advantages to reloading. It's a hobby. Okay.
Yep.
People need something to keep their minds active and go, to do something. We have people that are, hobby cabinet makers. Okay. They can make a joint where you can't even see it. You can do the same thing with reloading and hand loading ammunition. It's a hobby. You can be from just the easiest reloader, just crank out whatever you want, and you're not going to worry about accuracy, to going down to the nth degree, weighing primers, turning necks, and being going down, being Alice and going down the rabbit hole in reloading.
Yep. What we generally say, Paul, is, you can either hand load or you can reload.
Right.
Reloading, you're sorry about that.
Yeah. You can be a hand loader or a reloader. Exactly. And there's no one, stopping you from doing either one. And for some people, it's it's relaxation. They can go in and hand load or reload or whatever you want to call it, and they can get away from the bustle and thought processes of all the other things that are going on in their life, and they can concentrate on develop on reloading that one round of ammunition. And
well, like Mike used to say, we were talking about making quality ammunition. We're talking about making ammunition that works on the level of Winchester AA for shotgun, match ammo for handguns, match ammo for rifles. You were talking consistency, not necessarily accuracy. Consistency. If the load you're running isn't consistent, tweak it, but keep your tweak consistent.
I remember the days when they used to make match ammo for handguns. Okay. You don't see that anymore.
Nope. They call WW box.
Right. But it was match ammo where I could buy a box of 50 rounds of 38 special 148 grain hollow base wad cutters. At 750 feet per second with a 4-inch barrel.
Yep.
And they don't make that anymore. I mean, they list it. Somebody will list it. Federal will list it out there, but you won't find it. So I can make that load. I can make a load for for a 223 that is going to cost me, $30-$40 a box of 20. I can sit down and here's some Barnes tip all copper bullets. I can use these and make up a load for 22 250 or 223, and yeah, I mean, it's reasonable, even though there's only 50 bullets in the box. It still makes it reasonable, and I can develop the load for my gun. I can also turn around and make match ammunition that would spend a lot of money on. I mean, nowadays, especially match ammunition for rifles is, you know, $40-$50 a box of 20, you know, $2.10 a round. People who reload for big game rifles, you know, 357 H&H, 416, 458. You know, you're talking 110 to, you know, $150 a box of 20. So you can put together a round for guns like that to practice with. There's lots of reasons out there to make my own ammo.
You're actually overthinking it for what I was going to say, Paul. The reason why I got into reloading, because I was trying to save money. Ammo is damn expensive.
Did it work?
And you, well, it is a fact. It is a fact that you can reload and shoot more on the same budget. If you reload your own ammunition, you can
Yes.
shoot more ammo.
Yes.
That is a fact.
When
Most of us wind up going whole hog wild, getting reloading, and you know, we think we're unlimited supply of ammunition. I wore out a Ruger Security 6 one time. I literally shot that poor beast until everything just rattled and shook. Shake the gun, and the cylinder pops up and down, moves up and down, and fore and aft a little bit. Oh, probably 5-10 thousandths. The cylinder's over, or the bores of the cylinder oversized? No.
Yeah, you wore the paw down. You know, you wore the paw down so much that it still moved, and the cylinder lock, you know, was a little late in getting there to lock everything up and pushing everything, you know, 6 ways to Sunday.
And we won't talk about the flame cut over this barrel cylinder gap. He still has that gun too. He loves the damn thing. He still has that gun after all these years.
You know, you know, when I first got out of the service, they really didn't have. Well, IPSC was around, but we didn't have a club branch near us that was doing it, but they had PPC. Okay, and you remember PPC, don't you? You know,
never shot it, and I didn't have the money to compete. That's why I got into casting, because I was trying to make more ammo out of lead bullets. So it took me a while to learn how to reload that. But I shot a 357 so much that Ruger Security 6. One year, the guys came over, wanted to sight in their rifles. I was shooting better than most of them with a handgun. They were shooting 30-06s. 30-06s, and they say, I'd pay money to learn how to shoot like you did, Jim. So,
but
I says, I did pay the money. You just haven't paid enough.
Well, that's the thing. You sat down and you cast lead, and you bought primers, and you bought powder, and you know, you had to resupply on cases every once in a while. They'd split. 38 and 357 notorious for splitting, and you know, we didn't know anything about you know, annealing cases and who anneals a pistol case, and you know, I started really to reload for shooting PPC and IPSC, and then I discovered prairie dog shooting, and that's when it really started to pay off. I found people that online. Remember the Shotgun News?
Sure. Neil Knox.
Go on Shotgun News and find guys that were selling brass and buy brass from them and reload 22 250 6mm Remington guys that were selling military 223 brass that were in decent shape, and wearing barrels out that way. I mean, we're actually wearing barrels out. So I wore barrels out. I wore presses out. I went through two rock chuckers. When the ram starts to move too much, and you can't keep it in alignment, it's time to get rid of it and buy a new one.
Paul, that's why Mike keeps you and old guys like me and you around, because we still remember our roots.
Yeah, I mean, I decided I was going to shoot leg matches after the PPC, and and then it was building an M1A and going out and hand loading for it to get it to shoot. And, military brass and primers and wrenching on cases through a sizing die to get them to get them down to size in order to chamber in the gun. And
Clifford Jack has a question for us, Paul.
Sure.
Look at your screen.
Should you anneal 38 and 357? At the cost of what brass is nowadays, no. Would it help you with accuracy? Yes. Is there a way to do it? Yeah. I mean, probably the best way would be to get some type of track, set it up on a track, the cases, and just go through and slowly pass the torch over the cases and till they get a little red. And yeah, definitely, it'd make them last longer. Definitely, you wouldn't get as many split necks. And
yep, it will. Paul, I'll tell you what, I have a little bit simpler solution. I used to take an old-fashioned ice cube tray, take the divider out of it, fill it up about halfway full with water, make sure my brass is decapped, put the brass in the water. This is primer end down. Then take a propane torch and a dim light. There you go. Billy Nichols got you one idea. But I used to use mine with a propane torch. The case was immersed in water about halfway up the side of the case. And I would take and anneal my cases that way. You can't over anneal because the bottom of the case head can't get hot enough even if you get it hot enough to boil water, you're not going to hurt that brass.
Right.
Because it's in water. It's quenching it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was done with the annealing an individual case, I'd take an ice pick or something slender like that, knock it over, put it into the water.
Yeah, and you could pick it up 5 seconds later.
Yep. That's exactly why we quench them, not because it does anything to the brass, because it doesn't. What anneals the brass is the heat. Cooling it slow or cooling it fast, there's no difference in
brass.
The grain structure of the brass, the walls of the brass case.
Mm-hmm. And other things too. I mean,
you're limited by your imagination or by what you read from others. That's how I found out about using an ice cube tray.
I used to use sheet pans to lube bullets. Okay.
Yep.
You take the
hand lubing. Absolutely.
I used to fill the pan up with bullet lube, and keep it warm, and then just set the bullets in there until it was full. And then I took a piece of a copper pipe that I sharpened the edge on and just went down over each bullet and, pull them out of that.
Yep.
We used to harden lead bullets. Do you remember that? Doing any of that?
Sure. I've done that quite a bit of it.
We'd taken heat treat bullets to get them to harden them up some. All these things you can't buy on the internet, online or anywhere nowadays. Yeah, you can go to Buffalo Bore, you can buy bullets from them, and you can pay an arm and a leg and your firstborn, which, depending upon if it's a boy or a girl, you don't mind getting rid of. But these are things that you try, and see what works and what doesn't. Back in the day, Second Chance in Michigan had a pistol competition where you would shoot 5 bowling pins off of a 3-foot table.
Mm-hmm.
And it was usually it was like $25 for the entry fee, and every time you cleared a table, you would get placed higher up on the leaderboard, and you get the shoot offs and everything else. But if you blew it, you could sit down and give them $10 more and start again. I mean, and this was just row upon row and row of 8-foot tables, with a 4x8 piece of plywood, and they'd put 5 pins on there, 1 foot in, and you had to knock the bowling pin off the table. So you learned that you needed a heavy shouldered bullet to do that. And in a 45 or a 40, if you were good with a wheel gun, you could do it with a 357. There wasn't a 9mm that could knock one off. I'll guarantee you that. Most people were using 45s that were loaded really hot. With a 250 grain bullet, and in a Keith style semi-wad cutter. But there were people in revolver division and everything else, and there were some good prizes that they had out there, and there were prize tables where they would, here you go, you got, here's your ticket number. They call the ticket number, and you go, you get to walk the aisle to see what you wanted. Guy was a goddamn, excuse my French, was a pizza driver. Got shot too many times. Developed the Second Chance body armor. So there are so many reasons to load your own ammo. And the last thing I'm going to say is, is to be able to defend yourself after the government does something stupid.
Again.
Right. So
consistency, performance, availability,
hobby,
cost.
And the fun of it, guys. I mean, it's fun loading stuff up. We talk on Discord all the time about, hey, I loaded some of this up, I loaded that up, I went out and shot it, and it did this or it did that, and look how good this one, this group is, and it's something that you can be proud of, and really get out there and make a difference in our hobby and our shooting world and your shooting world, and be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Clifford Zach, why do people knock reloads for self-defense?
Lawyers.
I say it isn't lawyers. I say it's people don't have the confidence in their load that they have in a factory load.
Some for some, but I think also some of it is probably a lot of it stems from Asad Ayub.
Yes. Yeah.
And as I've never had the privilege to take a Mag 40. I would love to at some point in time, but
Mm-hmm.
But I've been told that he does actually say that there has been a couple of court cases where that has come up. Because part of the thing with, if you're hand loading for self-defense and you need to defend yourself against you're making more deadly ammo, more lethal ammo, but you're not. You have to be able to produce ammo for them to be able to test to verify, form, function, and everything else. And you may not have that opportunity with hand loads, whereas factory ammo, that's easier to do. So,
I mean,
that's what I've heard. So,
yeah,
I
mean,
for me, it's just simpler because I don't need to go out and get ballistics gel and spend all the time to create a load that is going to get proper penetration, and then make sure that that load is traveling at the proper velocity to get that hollow point to operate at the way it's supposed to, and not just not open.
okay.
It's a matter of the factor ammo. They've done the testing information and data is out there. You can look it up easily. And it's repeatable easily. And it's just a case of, for my point of view, it's easier. I mean, I've got somewhere in my mess, I have 100, 115 grain hollow point projectiles for 9mm.
Okay.
So it's not that I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I sit down and I'm one of the few people I think online that I don't trust a handgun for self-defense in my house. Okay. I am a rifle shooter for self-defense. There are reasons for that. Everybody thinks over penetration. I don't worry about it. It ain't, even living in the suburbs in Chicago, most of my rounds aren't going to go through you know, the drywall, the insulation, and the siding. Okay, you know, with wood siding and everything. I know handgun bullets will go farther from testing, and I have never used a factory ammunition for any of my defensive guns. Remington used to make for 45 ACP their flying ashtray bullets. You had to throat the gun. Had to really put a smile on that the bottom of the barrel to get one to load.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost easier to get a empty case to load into a 45 than it was to get one of those bullets in there. But you didn't worry about them opening up because the hole was, you know, gigantic. As I say, we call them a flying ashtray. So we would buy those bullets. That was what we used. Let them test. I mean, you know, you can only get so fast in a gun. Okay, I mean, really. I think you'd get more depending upon the ammo that you choose. You could get in more trouble saying, "Oh, what was that load that they have? The Black Talon from Winchester." You know, oh, he used Black Talon ammunition. You know, the big pedals came out and tore everything up. Good load. Hey, it worked. But the news, the press, and everybody else was screaming about this. Before that, Jim would remember this. We had the Teflon bullet scare. Bronze bullets covered with Teflon that would go through bulletproof vests. Okay. So does my 223 goes through a bulletproof vest too, you know. So yeah, I'm not going to listen to somebody, and knock on wood, since I've been back, I haven't had to shoot anybody. So hold them in you know, for the police to come. Yeah, I've had to do that. You know, stuff along those lines. You know, if you live on a farm, that'll happen to you. Somebody always wants something. You know, spent a night at a friend's house at a brand new farm that he just bought. Found somebody in his barn trying to go through some of his stuff. Held him for the police to come. Okay. But it's just am I worried about using hand loads on somebody? No. I mean, there are more things that I worry about in that type of situation than the ammo that I'm going to use.
I don't know. When I get done, I'm building an AR pistol currently, and that's going to be what I'm going to use. I'm going to get the 40 grain. I got to get a barrel for it because the current barrel is a 1-9 twist, 10-inch barrel.
Yeah.
But shooting a 40 grain, I should probably have a 1 in 12 twist.
No,
So.
you'll be fine with a 1 in 9.
Okay. What I'm looking at is the 40 grain Varmageddons.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do have to worry about over penetration. Because
Okay.
I'm in a duplex. And the bedrooms on the duplexes are on the outside walls.
Okay.
So everything funnels to the center of the duplexes. So over penetration is a real concern.
Then look at the Barnes varmint bullet, if I remember correctly.
I think it's a Varmint or X or something, but that's why I was looking at the Varmageddons too, because they're also designed to come apart. So
yeah.
But also I practice dropping to one knee and shooting up.
Mm-hmm.
Not a heck of a lot you can do, but so.
Yeah, the varmint grenade is a frangible copper tin powdered metal core.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as it's instant fragmentation, but it will penetrate. So I mean,
which is what frangible ammo will not do.
Right.
So.
But that's yeah, it works. It'll work in a 1 in 9. You don't have to worry about the barrel. In fact, the twist is even better. The faster the twist is even better. Gets it spinning little bit faster, and yeah, you're making a good choice with going with a 223 pistol for self defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Gentlemen, on that note, if you don't mind, I'm going to call it a night. I'm not contributing much to this conversation currently. And I just want to wish everybody a good night.
Yeah, we're about done anyway, Jim.
Yep.
So, but you have yourself a good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Support Second Amendment. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, you make a good choice with that, because you can do so many things with a pistol, an AR pistol, short barrel rifle than you can with, I can't say short barrel rifle. It's not a short barrel rifle.
Nope.
That you can't do with a handgun or a handgun round, but can do with a 223 type rifle round, and they're much better. I mean, I think I have four boxes of ammo, 30 cal ammo boxes loaded with my self defense rounds. Okay, and they kind of stay that way, and but 9mm, if I'm loading 9mm, I'm going to load a full metal jacket bullet up, and I'm going to sit down and say, I want penetration with it. I mean, I want it to go through whatever I'm shooting at to hit somebody that's behind it, because I ain't going to shoot at somebody unless I know where they're at. And you're right, shoot up or shoot down, one of the two. Anyhow.
Yep. But it's things like that I've learned in some of the self-defense training classes and the home defense training classes that I've gotten. It's the basic things you don't think about.
I'm more worried about being charged with murder than I am being told what my ammo that I used.
Right.
So, that's they rarely ever make a case about what ammo you used.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the thing, is it's not that it's a guarantee they're going to,
Right.
but it's mitigating the opportunity is why they suggest it.
And it's a suggestion, really. It is. I mean,
it really is.
Because if I sit down and say, I'm using the same load that the police department uses, they're going to sit down and say, well, why do you use that load? Because the police department uses it. Okay. Then they get the police on there. Why do you use it? Because it stops people. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them what round they use in their 223s. There you go. Yeah.
Last question of the night, and then we're gonna close her up out of here. So Oder wants to know, just out of curiosity and the fact that I do not fully understand your language. So Oder is from Iceland. So English is definitely not his first language, and anybody who tries to learn English as a second language understands just how screwed up English is. So he says, when hand loading, is it better to go for precision or is it accuracy? And he says, hate those two words, LOL. And yes, they are different. They have different definitions when it comes to reloading and hand loading.
Right. Is it a precision round? Okay.
Ain't that the truth, Billy?
Well, I'm saying, is it a precision round? I mean, that means that the round that I am producing is going to be the ultimate out of my rifle barrel. In other words, it's going to be there. Accuracy is the nut behind the trigger. Okay.
To a point.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you can make an accurate load, but not a precision load.
Right. I mean,
okay. So basic example, Oder, it depends what you're doing with it. If you're shooting F-class or long-range competition or something where accuracy, where your score matters based off where the bullet lands, you want a precision load.
As long as you can shoot it.
Yeah. And if you're really good, you want the load to be better than you, so you get better.
Right. Accuracy is dependent upon
Ocus,
how well
it's
you
not
shoot.
that simple.
But accuracy is dependent upon you, the gun, and the atmospheric conditions of wanting to put the bullet exactly where you're aiming. Okay, that is the definition of accuracy.
So I've kind of explained it like this to make it kind of just simple. Accuracy is a 5-shot group of sub MOA. Precision is a 5-shot group of 1 hole.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to explain it. Because with accuracy, it's repeatability. I mean, both of them are repeatability. But accuracy is just trying to attain a basic goal, where precision is the final goal, I guess. And literally, if they are literally all 5 in the exact same hole, so when they measure it, that hole is the diameter. It is the same diameter on shot 5 as it was for shot 1.
If it was in a machine rest, okay? All right, because precision is exactly what that is. It is not taking the shooter into account. It's taking, the ammunition into that gun and producing a 5-shot group that measures 000. That is precision. Doesn't mean where it's on the target, doesn't mean anywhere else. It means that when you shoot that round, it went through the same hole 5 times.
Okay.
That's precision. Accuracy is sitting there saying, I want to hit that target out there. Okay. It's
every time I pull the trigger.
Every time I pull the trigger.
Okay.
Okay, because that way I have to get down, I have to get in the gun, get set up, and all that stuff all the things have to come together for me to do that. So.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's the way I've kind of always thought about it, is the difference. And the shooter can put all 5 shots in the same hole. So, I mean, that, now the shooter and the firearm and the ammunition and the scope is, precision.
Mm-hmm.
They're all being So Okist said that's not the scientific definition, though. Precision is the repeatability. Accuracy is the distance from the target. At least that's what I've learned.
He's somewhat right, but accuracy is being able to hit the target. In other words, the target the target is out there at 1,000 yards, and I want to hit that target. I have to know accuracy wise how much I have to go to adjust my elevation. I have to know how much to hold for wind to be accurate. Okay, that's what the things that I have to think through, how I'm going to, steady the rifle and all that other kind of stuff down to my trigger pull and breathing. Precision just says that I can make a round go through here we go. I have a ransom rest for handguns. Okay. I can load for a 357 or a 45, and I can get a 1-inch group at 25 yards in the ransom rest. I cannot hold 1 inch at 25 yards myself. Okay. So precision wise, the ransom rest is going to hold the gun better than I can and put the bullet down range to go into the hole. It can't adjust for target movement or anything else, because that would require accuracy, and that would require the shooter to make compensation for the movement. So that's how I look at precision and accuracy.
Okay, so Brian Litz, Burger Bullets chief ballistician and all around guru. kind of in his latest book defines. And his basic precision, how group size affects hit percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And then accuracy, how well the group is centered around the aim point.
There we go.
He says the consistency of a group of shots, not necessarily how close those shots are to the center of the target, is precision. So he says precision refers to the consistency of a group of shots,
Right.
not necessarily how close those shots are to the center of the target.
Right, because precision just means one through the other, all through the same hole, not wherever it is on the target. So, in other words, if I was shooting at a 1,000-yard target and I was hitting on the 5 ring, and I put everything down in a 4x4-inch group on the 5 ring, I'm still going to be, for every shot, I'm going to be 5 points behind the guy who can accurately deliver the shots on the 10 ring. That's accuracy. Precision is down on the other end. So, and that's what Brian's saying there. He's just saying that, yeah, okay, the shooter can, and this gun and this combination can hit this target and put it where it needs to be. Accuracy.
All right. And that's why we ask those questions, is so we can get, corrections. Lord knows if you've watched this show or listened to this show long enough, I am wrong all the friggin' time.
Well, so we all make assumptions as far as precision and accuracy.
Right. We all have our own ideas of definitions, and it's a matter of, getting the knowledge out there so that we can get the correct definitions, not the definition that we think.
Exactly. And we sit down and say, and we are so loose with the term of precision and accuracy that it takes somebody
I would disagree with Oak's last statement. Said precision is, sorry to interrupt, but precision is more ammo and equipment. Accuracy is more external factors and adjustments. I would disagree with that, because if you have to have good ammo. The ammo and the equipment play into accuracy just as much, if not more, than precision.
Mm-hmm.
I get what he's trying to explain there, but I don't think it works. Because precision can also be affected by external factors.
Right. But if we shoot a bullet in a vacuum, without it, no air, no nothing, just in a vacuum, there are still going to be good loads and there's going to be bad loads. And the more towards the good load is where your precision improves. But again, I'm just saying that accuracy doesn't mean you're hitting the 10 ring, or accuracy means you're hitting the 10 ring. Precision doesn't mean you're hitting the 10 ring.
No.
Precision just says the group is precise.
Right. I mean, you can have a 5-shot group of precision.
Right.
And not hit the target at all.
Yeah. Exactly. So
that's the key thing that's the key thing that I was messing up. So yeah, I mean, you can have a precise group. You can have a precise 5-shot group, but it's not hitting the target, so it's not accurate.
Right. You know, so, and that's what I was trying to explain to Oder, was because you, me, and half the people that are on this, well, except for Vanessa, because Vanessa still has perfect grammar, you know.
Well, she is a school marm.
Yep. And so I'm removing her from the equation. We all look at precision and accuracy and interchangeably use the words. We do. I mean, I'm building accurate loads, okay? I want the utmost accuracy that I can out of a load that I'm building for a rifle. Well, that isn't right. I'm looking for a precision load that I can shoot accurately. That would be the right way to do it. But I will, and I am the first to admit that my English grammar is poor, and I probably wouldn't have gone through business without my wife correcting a lot of my letters and everything that I wrote.
Mm-hmm. So Billy wants to know, could a bad shooter with bad ammo be accurate? And he says, don't answer that. I didn't. Oh, kiss dad. He said, so you're running them together, talking about me. He says, you can have a 10 MOA pattern that is perfectly accurate by being centered on the target. It may not sound right, but that's the definition.
Yeah, exactly.
It isn't, but that's what we said. I said you can have a precise group that's not accurate because it's not on the target. So I'm not running them together. But the problem with having this conversation is you and I are talking, and then they're typing, but they're typing to something that you and I said, up to a minute ago.
Right. Yes.
So that's part of the problem.
Yeah. And
so
we just
So yes, Billy. Yes, you can be accurate
with a non-precise load. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying he can be accurate.
Yeah.
He didn't want the answer to that question, but I'm telling him he can be accurate. So anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, Oder, the answer to your question is both. 20 minutes later.
Yeah. Like I say, Oder, we use the terms loosely and improperly a lot of times. So yeah, Vanessa, you're right. Mm-hmm.
You can measure the accuracy of anything down to the precision in error you want to make. There's your answer. Oder, it wasn't supposed to, sorry. Sarcasm doesn't come through in unfortunately, sarcasm doesn't come through in text very well. But actually, I want to say that is a line from a movie. Anyway, I digress. All right, that's enough of that crap. So we have Camerado.
Ooh.
I found my hat.
You did.
Yes, I did. So Camerado.com, CAMAO. Yeah. Breaks. CAMORADO.com. Use coupon code RELOAD at checkout to save 5%. You've got lots of cool camo patterns. You got this one here, which is the original. There's a whole bunch more. Just some awesome stuff. So, and Sean's really come up with a cool product here, and he's got lots of different ways you can wear it, lots of different things. So, awesome, cool stuff there. Also, Patriot Patch Company, long-time sponsor of the show. Jake and Ryan come out with the Patch of the Month Club every month. So this is the Patch of the Month for May. And you got your patch and your sticker. And the patch says, Army, Navy, Marines defending freedom for 250 years. And then you've got his original drawing. You will notice it does not include the Air Force and it does not include the Coasties, because neither of those groups are 250 years old. So that's why. Army, Navy, and Marines were all around at the time of the beginning of the Revolutionary War, which, those who don't remember history very well, the actual official kickoff, April 19th, 1775. Oh, we got a few people from North Carolina. Cool. But every year, in May, they come out with a themed patch for Memorial Day weekend. So, which is this coming weekend. All right. We say this a lot because it's important. Memorial Day Monday isn't for those who have served and are alive. It isn't for those who are serving currently. It's for those who, during a time of war or police action, if you want to be that way about it, stepped up, whether it was voluntary or not, and signed their name on the dotted line, and then the government cashed that check. And what I mean by that is, for those that have had the ability and privilege to be able to serve our country, as a member of the armed forces, when you sign up, I'm not sure the process, because unfortunately I was not privileged enough to be able to do that because I have a bad knee. But you know that it could be up to and including death. Okay. You could give your life in service of your country. And so Memorial Day is about remembering all of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for your freedom. I saw a video earlier today as I was at work and, being highly productive, of somebody that was protesting, and then there was a veteran there, and the veteran was saying something, I fought for your freedoms, but was having a problem with the person protesting about something. I kind of understand, and I guess if anybody who has the privilege to, or has the right to be upset about somebody, I guess the veterans would be that. But
I'm a veteran, and I sit down and say, I fought for you to say whatever you want to say.
That was the point that I was trying to get to, but you made it much smarter and much simpler. So, But that's what these people did. Is they willingly gave their lives as a sacrifice to protect our freedoms, to protect this American way of life, this constitutional republic. It's not a freaking democracy. It never was. And if it ever becomes that way, then the United States will be the same as the Roman Empire. Gone.
Because
So
why? Because democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner.
that's right.
So
so this weekend, do something to honor them. If you want to know why it's important, watch the last 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. Just the last 10 minutes of the movie.
the first 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, that you watch the whole movie, and it's a little bit dramatized in certain points.
The first
but
10 minutes as he's going through the graveyard.
The beach landing. Oh, the graveyard. Yeah.
Yes. The first 10 minutes has got the graveyard where he's going through.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I thought that part was at the end. It's been so long. I need to watch it again. So, basically what it is, and by the way, spoiler alert, Private Ryan goes to the captain's grave, and Private Ryan is now an old man. And he basically, I'm just paraphrasing, he asked if he lived his life well enough to justify the sacrifice. Because Tom Hanks' character in the movie was a day or two from going home. But he volunteers to take this mission to go find Private Ryan and get Private Ryan back to his mom, because Private Ryan's brothers all died within like 2 days of each other. And so he was the last remaining son. And the U.S. had already learned the hard lesson from the Sullivan brothers that it did not go well at home if the U.S. military didn't do everything possible to try and get the one, if it turns out that families were losing all of their children in war, that if the military didn't do everything possible to get the living ones back, the one back, and they all wound up dying, it didn't go well at home. And this is 44. This is the heart of the war. This is what all the war bond drives and everything else at home had been building up to, and they couldn't have a chance where that unravels at home. So this was a huge and important mission. And there was a lot of these that happened where they would send people in like this, but I'm just kind of giving you the idea of what the premise behind this movie is. It was vitally important that they went and got Private Ryan and brought him back alive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose his name is Guy That Comments. It's not Guy That Makes Good Comments. Because that is horrible. And I'm not acknowledging it, other than what I just said. Anyway, so the whole point is, when you think about what you're doing, think about everything that's going on, make sure that however you're living as an American, however you're living in these United States of America, that you are living a life that honors their sacrifice. Are you getting off your dead ass and voting? That's a huge one. They went and died so you continue to have the right to vote. Because Italy didn't at that time. Japan had restricted voting rights at that time. And Germany sure in the heck had restricted voting rights in that time. How do you think they pulled off everything they pulled off? And are you treating everyone as equals, or are you treating some people like second-class citizens? Because that's another thing. They went and died so everybody was equal, truly equal. Now, yes, you can go ahead and say, well, there was a lot of racism over there. Yes, there is. You don't believe me? Go watch Red Tails. Red Tails is a story of the fighter wing of the Tuskegee Airmen, and they show quite a bit of the racism and stuff. So, but that's not what we're doing now. So, exactly, Vanessa. Equal rights for all, not just some. So, make sure you're living that life that honors their memory, that truly shows why their sacrifice was worth it, why the United States of America was worth defending, why this government should continue to exist, and this country should continue to exist. You know, we talk about at closing every time about support the Second Amendment. Well, guess what, gang? You know why the second's there? Because it's the only thing that guarantees everything else. And they learned that from Great Britain. And they learned that from France. And they learned that from a couple other countries. When the population was unarmed, they were basically glorified servants. So they knew that it was important for the populace in this country, in this young, fragile country, to continue to be armed in case the government got out of line. And it's not like they didn't think that the government could get out of line. They just got done escaping from underneath King George's tyrannical thumb. Yep. So if you have time and you can do this, every state has a national cemetery. A lot of states have more than one. Some states have 10, 15, 20. Wisconsin, I think, has 4 or 5. I think of off the top of my head. So, and for Memorial Day, they put out flags on every grave. Go help with that if you've got the time.
It's Friday for the Illinois national cemeteries to put the flags out.
Yeah. So, if you're off Friday, which a lot of people take Friday off because they may get a long weekend, or, and there's veterans get annoyed about it, but if you see somebody wearing a Korea War veteran or a Vietnam veteran or a Iraq veteran, just say thank you for your service. If you see somebody in a uniform, say thank you for your service. That's an honor. That is honoring those who sacrificed all, because you are respecting the people that are currently doing it. Okay. There's so many different things you can do. You can help out at a VFW or an American Legion or any of the various other. You can go volunteer at a VA hospital. There's all sorts of stuff to be done at VA hospitals, just to spend time with people. So
that's needed. That is tremendously needed.
And just go and hang out. Let them tell their stories, or
listen to them.
Listen
really
to them.
listen to them. and don't don't poo-poo what they say, is because you weren't there.
Nope.
Because I guarantee you, they lost people when they tell their stories. We, what I really want is everybody to take a half hour on Monday to stop what they're doing and think about the people that aren't there, that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Take a half hour and think about it. Discuss it with your family, if just to do something and not celebrate it with on the barbecue grill, knocking back a beer and margaritas. I'm sorry, I get upset about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So absolutely, we need to take time and honor them. So, but that's kind of what we're looking at, is make sure that you're doing that. So, and if you can't this year, July 4th is coming up. They put the flags out for July 4th as well.
You got July 4th. You got
November
Veterans
11th.
Day.
November 11th.
Yep.
So
that's the time you say thank you to all the vets out there.
Yep.
Alive and dead.
And we just had Armed Services Day a week or two ago, and that's when you say to the people actively serving. So
right.
If you hear somebody that says, something about Memorial Day to a vet, don't correct them. Just let it go. So it's not worth the headache and the hassle. So, but
yeah,
but give your Congress critters a call. HVA is kind of bouncing around. They're going to try and shove it into a bill where it has to go through. So give them a call and push on it. Anybody who's been listening, there's a whole hullabaloo at Silencer Central. Gresham had the owner of Silencer Central on he did the interview during the week and then aired it last weekend. So it's on his podcast download, but he also had it cut separately. So you can listen to just it instead of everything else if you want to hear what he says. Your choice on how you want to believe it and everything like that. So, pay attention to what your politicians are standing for and pay attention to what they're not standing for. But remember that what comes out of their mouth is usually about the same thing that comes out of a horse's ass. Okay? If you want to know what your politician's really about, look at their voting record. So,
unless you're in California, New York, New Jersey, or Illinois, because you know what they voted for anyway. So
yeah. So but yeah, spend the weekend remembering, honoring all of those who sacrificed,
gave the ultimate.
Yep. And we're not going to do a normal sign off tonight, so we're just going to say, if you're struggling, 988 or 1-800-273-8255. If it's bad, struggle. Otherwise, you can reach out to other organizations. So there's Walk the Talk America. You've got active military, or for veterans, there's military1source.com, which is a good place to reach out to. So there's lots of places out there to get help, King. Reach out and get it. I finally have my first grief counseling appointment June 2nd. So long overdue. So
Good move.
I'm open with everybody. I will let everybody know that, hey, you know, that's honestly, it's part of the reason why podcasts don't come out on time, is because Chris does yeoman's work. He does all the editing, and then I have to do the other stuff on the other end. But I mean, honestly, there's times I don't want to. I really don't want to do a damn thing. I get home from work, especially, and I just look at the computer, or I look at this, or I look at that, and I just sit on the couch and pet the dog, and that's my night. So, but if you need the help, reach out and get it, because you do better. You're more helpful here, and you're going to cause less issues if you're here than if you're dead. And I realize there's a lot of people out there who don't think that way. They think that suck starting a shotgun is going to solve all of the problems. Well, congratulations, you solved yours, chicken shit. Guess what? You fucked everybody else over. So
I gotta say one more thing on this, Mike. I hope you don't mind, but
yeah, go ahead.
I talked to one of where I get my counseling at, and they said if you're in Illinois, get in touch with me, and I will direct you to someone that will help you. So,
absolutely. And there's plenty of people in Discord and, you know, everywhere else that's willing to just listen if you just need somebody to talk. And sometimes that's all it is. You just need somebody to sit there and listen. So. Yeah. So, grief is horrible. And when you lose somebody, especially if you could have helped it, it's worse. Because if you're the person left behind, what happens is you sit here, if only I had done this, if only I'd have done this, if only I'd have done this. And it's a constant struggle where you just beat yourself up all the time. So, guy in the comments just said 6 years since my neighbor was killed in Afghanistan. He was 20, barely starting his life. If it's any consolation, his mama got a house, and may God have him in his glory. I hope he is. I hope he's up in heaven. And we all know that as much as the house made a life-changing event, she would return 500 houses, 1,000 houses to get her son back. But that's the thing, is we need to honor him. We need to honor that 20-year-old and all of the ones like him. I don't care if you agree why we are over there. Okay? I don't care. Have your opinion of Iraq and Afghanistan and of Desert Storm and whatever else. I don't care. You can have your opinion. But damn well better not do the same thing they did to the troops in Vietnam. You need to
Yeah.
respect the troops because a lot of them didn't have a choice. Now, we didn't have the draft for Afghanistan and Iraq, so it was a lot of volunteers.
It was all volunteers.
But, well, except for the people that were already in. So, if they were already serving a stint, then they didn't get to volunteer to sign up or not. They were already signed up. So, that's what I'm talking about by the ones that weren't necessarily volunteers, if that makes any sense.
Kind of, yeah. I get you.
Okay.
I get you.
So,
but
yeah, I mean, it's not like Nam where we had the draft.
It's not like, it isn't when you get off an airplane and people are yelling and screaming at you, calling you a baby killer and spitting on you and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Where you were coming home and they were telling you to wear civilian clothes while you travel. So,
because you had to be ashamed that you were wearing a uniform, right. Even if, especially considering most of them that were getting that treatment were drafted and didn't have a choice in the first place.
Right.
And they just got done in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, 30 months of hell.
Mostly it was 12 months they had to spend in country.
Yep.
And the real funny part about it all is, and I call it funny, because the Viet Cong and the NVA were both killing babies and everything else, all the time. They kill the families of the local chiefs and everything else just to prove a point. And we sit down and people were saying that we're baby killers, and God, no one knows what it's like to go to war, except those that have been there.
Yep. And those that have been there never wish it on anybody. So.
No, you don't want to go to war.
No.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a blast tonight. I thank all of you for listening in and putting up with our little diatribe here. And
yep. If you don't agree or you think we're off base on something, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Send us emails. We answer. Sometimes in the past, depending on what's going on, there's sometimes that people have said something that just torqued us off a little bit. But the more we think about it and talk about it, the more some of it makes more sense. So.
And use the same email if you need to get a hold of me. Mike will forward it to me, and I will get in touch with you if you need help.
Yep. If you need help, you can use the email. Goes to my cell phone, which is on me all the time. So, and I get notifications all the time. So, I on a bright note, I am working with Dan from Inline Fab to come on.
Nice.
So we're working on a date. Probably going to be one of the first 2 weeks of June, maybe. Next week there will be no show. So, as is typical with Memorial Day week and Labor Day week, we don't do a show. So, but I will be guaranteed using that time to get caught up on postings. So, what we have done in the past is Discord has a voice chat. So we have done some voice chats through Discord on Tuesday night. So expect something like that, where basically we just kind of all get on and bullcrap. So expect something like that probably about the same time on Discord. So next week, but yeah, no show. But other than that, folks, thank you all for all your dedication, all your support, and have a good night.
Good night, all. Thank you again.